Welcome back to Animal-Based In Your Face with Scott and Pam. Today we're in the kitchen making a delicious recipe from the Carnivore Code Cookbook by Dr. Paul Saladino. After trying the original recipe, we decided we could make it less carb, a little richer, and even better. What are we making today? We're making bacon and egg quiche with a butternut squash crust. The ingredients you're going to need today are 8 ounces of crumbled or diced bacon, which we've pre-cooked to make meal prep faster, 8 whole eggs, which I've already separated or cracked open. You're also going to need 1 cup of egg whites, 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, 1/4 cup of Parmesan, 1/2 cup of mozzarella, 1 teaspoon of thyme, a pinch of nutmeg, 1 medium butternut squash, a mixing bowl. I'm using a whisk and my OXO pie lifter. You will need a pie plate. This is the OXO pie plate that's 9 inches. It also comes with this amazing lid. And as you can see, I went ahead last night and prepped my crust. Next, you're going to want to take your medium butternut squash and you're going to want to peel it just like I have here. So I cut the ends off, both ends, and then I peeled it. Next, you want to gut all the seeds out of it, just like this. I want to talk for just a minute about the way I make my meals so much faster, easier, and less time consuming. For the bacon in this recipe, you can hand cut it, but what I like to do is put it in my Breville food processor. I've had this for years. I love it. It comes with so many attachments to make life in the kitchen easier and faster. But I simply put my pre-cooked bacon, cold or warm works great, in my Breville with my chopping blade, or they call this an S blade. And then I just pulse it until I get it all crumbled up. So that's how I did my bacon for this recipe today. The next thing I would do is you're going to go ahead and take your butternut squash that's already peeled, cut in half lengthwise, and then cut in half widthwise, or however it fits in your food processor, and you're going to change the blade. Take the blade out, and then I would use my shredder. And this Breville actually has a coarse and a fine shredder. You just flip it over and reverse it for different sizes. But for this recipe, I used the coarse shredder, and then I fed my butternut squash. You got to make it fit in your food processor through this chute right here. So whatever size you have to cut it to get it in. And then I simply pulsed it and shredded it. And that will make your crust perfect and much easier than the original recipe. Now let's get our pie pan prepared. Now you can see mine was done last night, but I'm going to tell you exactly how I do it. After my squash is either hand grated or grated in the food processor, I take 2 cups for a 9-inch pie plate. If you're using a square dish or a smaller pie plate, you may have to adjust your squash and how much you're using. So first, I got some melted butter and I greased my pan. Now that is an optional step. It's something that I choose to do. So just take your 1 tablespoon of butter and do it all over the bottom of your pie plate before you add your shredded squash. Once it's greased, you're going to take 2 cups or however much you need, and you are going to line your pie pan with the shredded squash. Just push it down firmly. Now with this recipe, we're going to pre-cook the squash about 5 minutes before we pour our ingredients into it. So let's go ahead and get our oven hot. You're going to do 425 degrees. And you're going to get that preheating. Now you're going to want to get a large mixing bowl. Mine's really more of a medium large. And you're going to start putting all the ingredients in the bowl that I tell you. And then we're going to lightly whisk them. So first you're going to take your 8 large eggs. Your 1 cup of egg whites. Next, you're going to pour in your 1 cup of heavy cream. Now, the original recipe actually called for milk, but if you do a cup of milk in this, it's going to add 12 more carbs to the recipe. So today we're using heavy whipping cream. Next, you're going to add in 1 teaspoon of thyme and a pinch of nutmeg. And I just put a little bit in this 1/8 of a teaspoon. It's not even an 1/8 of a teaspoon. It's probably less than half, but just a pinch of nutmeg. You're going to want to grab your whisk, and that's all the ingredients we're putting in it right now. So let's whisk this together lightly and get it well combined. Now that everything is all lightly whisked together and our oven is preheated, let's go ahead and stick our pie plate with our 2 cups of shredded butternut squash that's greased with butter in the oven for 5 minutes. While our crust is in the oven, we're going to go ahead and add our 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese to our mixture. And your 8 ounces of crumbled bacon. Now, of course, you can use any protein that you like, ham, sausage, whatever comes to mind, but today we're using bacon. You're going to pour the full 8 ounces in your bowl. And next, you're going to mix this well. Our timer just went off and it's been 5 minutes, so we're going to pull it out of the oven, set it on the counter, and then we're going to pour our ingredients in our pie plate. Before we pour our ingredients in our pie plate, I just wanted to explain that the original recipe had you take butternut squash and slice it into an 1/8 of an inch piece and line your baking pan. Well, we tested that method and we found that it tasted great, but the butternut squash actually floated into our recipe. So we decided to shred it, and I think this is going to be a much better method. Also, pre-cooking was not part of the original recipe. It's something that we added so it would set better and not float. Now we're going to go ahead and pour our mixture of ingredients in our pie plate, and then we're going to cook that for about 30 minutes. The only thing that has not been added in is the 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese. That will not be added until the top of it until it's cooked for 30 minutes. I poured my mixture in, and next we're going into the oven, 425 degrees for 30 minutes. With slow walking and concentration, it's in the oven, and we'll check on it in 30 minutes, pull it out, and add our 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese on top. Our 30-minute timer just went off. Let's take a look at our quiche. It's beautiful. I can tell it's not set in the middle, and that's okay because we're not done cooking it. We're gonna go ahead and take it out of the oven, and add our mozzarella cheese to the top. I just wanted to show you before we add our 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese, you can see the center is still wiggly. Once we add the cheese, we're going to put it back in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes or until it's set. All right, we're going to add our 1/2 cup of mozzarella. Just remember, you can always change your cheeses up, and I'm probably going to try a cheddar with a Colby Jack on top next time I make this. Let's just dump it. It smells amazing. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. Now, if you want more cheese than a 1/2 cup, go ahead and add it. I am watching the color. We don't want it to get too brown. If it starts to get too brown, then I might put a piece of parchment paper over it. But we're going to let it cook 10 to 15 minutes longer or until it's set in the middle. I went ahead and vented a piece of parchment paper over the top just because I didn't want mine to get any browner. But look how good it's looking. It's been 45 minutes. Our quiche is totally set in the middle, so I went ahead and pulled it out of the oven. It smells great. It looks great. I did want to go over the nutritional information and let you know, if you're watching, I can even see it. It's slowly deflating, and that's normal for a quiche to do. The nutritional information on this quiche, computer stop, sorry about that. If you cut this into 8 slices, it's going to be 28 grams of protein, 33 grams of fat, and 6 carbs. And that is actually a perfect ratio for an animal-based diet. Next, we're going to cut into it and let it cool for a few minutes, put it on a plate, and see how it looks. Now, I wanted to go down and have him show the crust one more time. If he comes around over to this side, you can see that butternut squash actually stayed on the sides. A few pieces floated to the top when I poured the liquid in, but it looks perfect. We'll be back. We got our quiche cut into 8 slices. I just want to show you the inside, how well it's set. It came out really easy with our OXO pie slicer. And here is one of the pieces that we just took out and we're about to eat. But look at the middle. And the crust, right there, it looks great. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Animal Based in Your Face. Click the bell for notifications. Then jump over to Facebook and join our support group, Animal Based in Your Face Tribe.